And the interesting thing about early sobriety is there are massive victories that you are mountains that you are scaling, and nobody knows it. Nobody sees it. The fact that I would go a day without a drink, nobody cared. I mean, like,
no one's going to clap
unless
they really know what it's like to be an alcoholic.
Right. And like, I remember the first time I went to a store and I'm walking up to like, the little like, alarms that go off when you're stealing something. Okay. Because I had been a compulsive stealer for so long, right? Walking up to those things was very like anxiety inducing. Like, did I take something that's going to set them off? Am I going to run? Like, what's going to happen? Am I going to get caught? And I remember the first time I walked up to it and I didn't steal anything. I was like, with my head held so high, I'm like marching through those things. And when I went through them, I wanted to turn around and be like, everyone, I didn't take anything. Like, check my bag. Don't you want to look in my bag? Like, I didn't take anything from your store. Like, I wanted to celebrate this victory. And of course, I'm not going to do that because that's like weird a little bit. But I get to my car and I just sit there and I'm like, yes. Like, there's just this little quiet victory in my car of like, okay, that was the first time, and let's see if we can get another time, and let's see if we can just kind of build on that. And so I'm having these like little victories, these moments of like hope, like little glimmers of like, okay, like I'm overcoming some of these things, and it's slow and it's painful and it's so hard. It's so much work. And at this point though, I'm like, but what does God want from me? Aside from me to be sober and have this like happy, joyous, and free life, what does he really want from me? Vocation wise, or like job wise. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. So I talked to my youth minister at our parish. I had volunteered with him a lot. So that's why I say my youth minister. And he said, we have a massive parish. We have 400 kids in our youth group. We're thriving. We're successful in every way. He's like, but there were 1,000 students, seniors in high school, who graduated from the local high school last year. He said, what did we do for them? I said, we didn't do a darn thing for them. I mean, we cater to the kids who come to us. We don't go to them. He's like, exactly. And I was like, so like a missionary going to them, like the high school? And he's like, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And I'm like, I said, Chris, I'm like, it's 2016. I'm like, they're not going to let you walk into a high school to talk to kids about Jesus. Like, come on, like this is crazy. And he's like, we got to try. And I'm looking for something to do, right? And I'm crazy enough to try it. So I was like, all right, well, let's. So we pitch it to the parish. And of course the parish is like, we don't have money. And so we're like, okay, we'll fundraise. You okay? And then parish is like, all right. So then we have to get an exemption from the diocese because all of the, like, the rules in place that are there to protect minors. I need an exemption for all the rules, basically. Like, I need to be able to give kids rides. I need to go places like alone, like one-on-one with kids and that sort of thing. And I just remember thinking like, there's no way. There's no way the diocese is going to budge on that. And they gave us the green light. They said, okay. And so I'm like, okay, the money came in. The diocese gave us a green light. Now we got to talk to the high school and convince them to let me come in. I'm like, there's no way they're going to say like, yeah, come in and talk to our kids about Jesus. Principal's like, okay. So before I know it, I am a missionary at a public high school in 2016. And the mission field is I am bringing Christ to them. Instead of sitting in our little church and waiting for them to come and being like, we have free pizza, or like trying to bribe them to come to us, I am going into the trenches. And it is so hard. Because remember, high school was a nightmare for me. And I remember the first time I walked into that cafeteria. I'm all by myself, right? It's my first time there. And there's that feeling of, where do I sit? That terrifying feeling when you're a misfit and you're in high school and you don't know where you're going to sit and you just want one of your friends to call you over, someone to say, hey, come sit with me. You don't want to sit alone. Like, I'm reliving that. Okay. But I'm sober now. And God is slowly beginning to build up in me what was so terribly broken at one point. And that first day was awful. I might have sat alone that first day, I think. But by the second day, I was like, all right, what's the quickest way to a kid's heart? Candy, duh. So I buy a bunch of candy, right? And the good thing about high schoolers is they're so chill that you can just look at them across the room. They don't even have to know who you are. You hold up like a candy and they'll be like, throw it, and start a conversation. You throw the candy at them, you walk over. And so it's just like slow, just building, hey, this is who I am, having conversations with them. After every lunch period, I would like take notes. Okay, this kid's name was blah, blah, blah. He likes this. Tomorrow he has a test in that. Like, I'm going to pray for him for this. And like, I'm taking notes because I'm meeting a ton of kids. Mm-hmm. Primarily, I'm focusing on freshmen because the goal is like to kind of journey with them. Plus, they're the kids that can't leave the campus. So like, they're the ones that
trapped.
They have to be in the cafeteria. And it's beginning to be so beautiful. And I'm starting to meet these kids. I'm starting to love on these kids. I'm starting to bring Christ to these kids who would never step foot in a church. And a lot of these kids, like, I'm specifically targeting the kids who are coming from broken homes, the kids who are not doing well in school, the kids that are the hardest to love, are often the ones that need it the most. And they are hard to love because they don't behave the best.
Yeah.
Or the annoying kids. You want to talk about hard to love? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's easier to love the troublemaker who calls you the B word. Like, it's easier to love him than the kid who talks a little too much or who can't sit still. And I'm like, but he needs to be loved just as much as that troublemaker does. So I'm trying to have these conversations with these either super nerdy, super awkward kids or these super annoying kids. And I'm really just like, Lord, like, use me. And I'm reaching out to them and we're building and we're starting to see fruit. And I'm going to football games. I'm going just wherever they are, I'm meeting them where they're at to bring them closer to Christ and having these beautiful conversations. And then about a year later, parish politics happened, and our youth minister was not getting along with someone who was on the like higher up end of the parish. And so to send him a message, they wanted to can the one program that fell under him, which was this outreach program. And they later admitted to that. And so that's why I'm able to say that so definitively.
Yeah.
But I was heartbroken because I'm investing in these kids, specifically kids who have had teachers and parents give up on them. Like, every adult in their life has already said, you're too much trouble. You're too annoying. I can't deal with you. And finally, an adult comes along. They open up to this adult. They trust me. And now I'm going to bail on them just like everyone else because of parish politics. We had the money that was there. The fruit was coming in. Like, some of these kids were coming to youth groups. Some of these kids were coming to know Christ through this program. And I was only a year in. I mean, I was just barely setting the groundwork. I was so excited for the next year. And I had some of the kids tell me, like, I thought you were going to like I was ready to invite you to prom my senior year. Like, I thought you would be there. And it was so hard. I remember this one kid. He had just met me and he asked me to come with him to go where his brother died. His brother had gotten hit on a motorcycle, and he wanted to go and sit. And of course, I'm going to be Christ, and so I'm going to sit with him, right? Like, shepherds should smell like their sheep. Like, I should be rubbing elbows with these, just being there with them in the trenches. And so we go. You're not from the hood, and I'm not saying this was the hood or the ghetto, but sometimes you got to pour one out for the homies. So he tells me his brother's favorite beer. Okay, so we go and we pick up a beer, which is kind of funny because I'm an alcoholic and he's like a 16-year-old kid, and I'm buying a beer, and it is wrong in every way. But like, I knew we're gonna pour it out. Like, it's for his brother. Like, okay. So I'm like trying to remain cool. Okay, so we get there, we pour it out, and we're sitting there, and he pulls out his phone. And we're sitting there on the side of the road. Cars are zooming by. It's a very busy street. And he pulls out his phone and he pulls up a YouTube video. And someone had filmed the accident, or like the cleanup of the accident. And in this video are his brother's legs and his feet, his shoes sticking out from behind a car. And this person who filmed this video has it monetized and is making money off of this. And this brother is sitting next to me, and he's like, I've asked this guy to take this down. Like, this is my brother, and he's dead, and he's in this video, and people are commenting about this dead body that's like my brother, and this guy won't take it down. He's making money off of it because it's a spectacle. And my heart is breaking for this kid But what causes it to break even more is this kid had just met me. He was so hungry. Like, where are the other adults in his life? Where are his friends? He just met me. I was a stranger. And immediately he draws me into this intimate part of his life. And he says, come sit with me in my pain. Come listen to my story. And that's the mission field right now. These kids are dying of loneliness. They're so starved. Like, people think that like we have to like fix all these problems in these kids' lives. And it's like, you just have to show up. Show up and listen and say, I'm here with you. Because like he invited me in like that. And I had another kid. This is also a great witness to how beautiful this program was. He texts me. It's 2 a.m. I get a text from this kid. He says, I just bought drugs and I don't want to do them.
Oh, bless him.
First of all, he reached out, and that's incredible. That is grace.
Did you get the text?
I got the text. Now, it's 2 a.m. I'm about to break every rule in the book of do not do this, right? So here's a church minister driving at 2 a.m. to meet up with a 16-year-old boy in a parking lot in the dark who has drugs, right? So he texts me, and I text him back right away. I said, okay, you don't want to do them? Like, I'll take them. And he's like, nah, I spent money on it. I spent a lot of money. I said, okay, I'll buy it from you. And then you lose nothing. And he goes, all right, let's just meet up. So we meet up. I show up to this parking lot. He hands me a baggie of heroin and meth. Okay. And I'm standing there and I'm like, shit. Because like I didn't think, well, now what do I do? He gave it. I'm an addict. Okay. I don't want this. I'm not going to get in my car with it. I'm not just going to throw it to, like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I look at him and I say, don't take your eyes off of me. And I like pop my trunk and I'm like looking for what's in I find an empty Coke can and I like dump the baggies in the Coke can and there's like some Freon and I dump some Freon in it. I probably made like some super drug in the process, but like I tie it in a baggie and I throw it in a dumpster. Okay. He's not going to use it. And I broke every rule in the book to do it, but I couldn't help but feel like that's what Jesus would do for me. He would say, you got yourself in a situation. You're trying to do these drugs. I'll take it. Give me your burden. I will bear it for you. And I couldn't help but feel like that. Like that's what this kid needed in that moment. He needed Christ to show up and say, I got you. You don't have to do this. And I'm not mad. And we're going to get through it together. And, you know, Pope Francis' saying of shepherds should smell like their sheep. I felt like in that moment, what it means is like his pain is my pain, right? Like his drug purchase was my drug purchase. And like I should be so immersed in my ministry with those I'm serving that like, no, like this is ours. We're going to carry this cross side by side together. And we're going to shoulder the weight together because together we can actually do it. You don't have to do it alone. I tried for my entire life to do it alone. And so I knew the feeling. And so if his pain is my pain, then his joy is also my joy. And 30 days later, he sends me a sobriety chip. You get these chips in 12-step programs for how many months you have or how many days. And I cried when he sent me the picture because his joy was my joy. 30 days clean. And this was a kid who had struggled so much. I'd been helping him left and right. And every time I helped him, it seemed like things were getting worse. Like he went from doing this drug to, you know, now he's, you know, having sex. Now he's doing this. And I'm just like, Lord, like, I'm going to keep showing up for this kid because that's what you did for me. But like, it's not looking good. And I was there for him in that moment. And that's the hard part of ministry is a lot of times you're investing. And maybe you're going to have a beautiful moment like that. But there's a lot of times you don't have that. But I like my job every day is to say, Lord, how are you calling me to serve you? How are you calling me to be a part of the body of Christ? And what's that going to look like today? And sometimes it is losing sleep and driving somewhere at 2 a.m. and risking jail time. I mean, if cops had rolled up, guess who's going to jail? Guess who has drugs in their hands?
I mean, and you bought it. You didn't just take it. You bought it from a
And
team.
imagine the headlines. Youth minister buys drugs off of kid in parking lot. And But again, like I just felt like Christ shows up for us like that. Time and time again, he's in our life saying, you don't have to do this on your own. Give it to me. Just give it to me and I'll take it for you. And I knew that that's what this kid needed. And so this ministry was so effective. And then it gets canned, right? Because of parish politics, and I'm crushed. And now I'm like, Lord, come on. Like I thought this seemed like a great calling for me, because like I'm not married. I could give of myself to these kids and serve them full time, and it was blossoming and there was fruit. And I'm sober, and I realize like I don't know what direction my life is headed, and I also don't know who I am, because I'm like most of my life I'd been using and self-medicating and that sort of thing. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna go walk across Spain. I'm gonna go do the Camino, and just try to figure out where God wants me.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, do us a favor, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the video, like, and subscribe.